it is a whole lot going on today. And quite frankly, I'm just so not in the mood for it. Okay, so anyway, as I told you, Jane Doe's going to continue with the cross-exam today. But you know what I was thinking? Now, you know, the judge dismissed the motion, or he denied the motion for the mistrial on yesterday. But even though when the defense filed that motion, they likely knew that it was going to be denied. But what they do is they file these motions, and mind you, this is the second one. I know some reporters said that it was the third one, but in fact, Diddy's team corrected them yesterday, and it is in fact only the second mistrial motion that they filed. Now, even though they know that the judge is likely going to deny these motions, the reason they filed them specifically is because they're laying the groundwork, okay, for what they're going to need on appeal. Remember, all these things that the defense has been complaining about when they've been filing these motions in limine, when they've been talking about prior bad acts, which I told you all about before they even mentioned it. And Mark Agnifilo said that the case was turned into a prior bad acts free for all. I had already told you all that's what was happening. But I want you to pay attention because I also told you that they're filing all of these motions. Mark Garagos is making all notes of all of this to use when they come back for the appeal. Okay, so by basically filing the motion for a mistrial, which they know is going to get denied 9 times out of 10, they're just laying the groundwork and setting the foundation so they can come back. And guess what? When they come back, they have a very good chance of getting Diddy's conviction overturned, in my opinion. Because you see, what happens is, first of all, do you think all of these people who are testifying are going to want to come back and testify again, or are going to have the same exact stories that they told first time around? Some of them don't even have the same story that they told to the feds when they met with them numerous of times. Some of them have met the feds over 20 times and nonetheless still got on the stand and told conflicting stories, or they had discrepancy in their stories, and in some cases, like the case of Brianna Bongalon, flat out lied, okay? And I want you to pay attention because also, you know, the bottom line is prosecutors can also face consequences for allowing in perjurious testimony, which is in fact when a witness knowingly and willfully gets up there on the stand and lies under oath. Okay, and the prosecution, if they knew the person was going to lie, then they absolutely are wrong for that, and that's an ethical violation. So I just want you all to pay attention. And of course they knew that she was going to say these things because they had all of the information and evidence during the period of discovery. I mean, they already interviewed her 20-something times. I think it was 27. So they knew what she was going to say, but they also knew at the same time that the defense had information to debunk what she said. Okay, so that absolutely is prosecutorial misconduct as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, let's talk about Harvey Weinstein, because another thing that I've been telling you all is that Diddy's case is very similar to the Harvey Weinstein case that got overturned. Okay, his case was overturned due to prior bad acts. The same thing's going to happen with Diddy. Just remember that you heard it here first. I'm telling you now that they're going to use all of this, the prior bad acts. They're going to use these motions for mistrials, all of the stuff that Mark Agnifilo has been complaining about, every last thing that he's objected about. All of this stuff is going to work together when they come back for that appeal. Okay, now the problem with Harvey Weinstein is the jury can't even come to a decision this time around. Okay, and I find that interesting, so let's talk about it. Because it's been reported that the jury is actually fighting amongst themselves. Harvey Weinstein jurors begged for coffee for energy as grueling dramatic deliberations continue in New York City SEX crimes mistrial or retrial. So the jurors weighing Harvey Weinstein's fate pleaded for a dose of caffeine as the grueling deliberations continued on Monday, with yet another dramatic revelation about apparent dysfunction in the jury room. Now, the third day of deliberations in Weinstein's Manhattan S crimes case, or retrial, ended without a verdict, okay, and with a request from jurors for a cup of joe when they return Tuesday morning, because they're like over it. They say, we, the jury, request coffee tomorrow morning for energy, okay? They left a note. And so these people are going back and forth. I mean, some of them are just fighting amongst themselves, is what they're saying. And I find it all interesting because they already have the same evidence that they had at the first trial, okay, where he was convicted and found guilty. So what's the problem? Why is he not being found guilty again? Well, because things change when they have a retrial. Okay, jurors in Harvey Weinstein trial reportedly fighting amongst themselves. The New York jury deciding whether to convict disgraced film mogul Harvey Weinstein of S crimes appears divided with some of the jurors reportedly launching verbal attacks against each other. Now they're cursing each other out, going off, okay, ready to throw hands and all of that. Okay, they have been launching verbal attacks against each other and also considering information that was not brought up in the recent retrial. Now, 5 males and 7 female jurors have deliberated for 3 days over whether to find Weinstein guilty of rape and criminal acts in his 2020 conviction was thrown out last year. Monday morning in court began with a note from the foreperson that read, "I need to talk to you about a situation which isn't very good." Weinstein's lawyers then filed for a mistrial, which the judge, of course, denied, and details emerged about the unfolding drama. So after discussions with attorneys on Monday, Judge Curtis Farber later called the jury's foreperson back to the court's robing room to discuss the issue. Now, the foreperson told him that even though juries are only supposed to consider evidence and testimony presented during the trial, some jurors were trying to convince others of their point of view, basically, by bringing up parts of Weinstein's public history. And this is all according to the court's transcripts. They say they're pushing people, talking about the past. So what they're doing is they're trying to influence the other jurors who may be on the fence, who are maybe undecided due to the evidence that's been presented. They're trying to, force their opinions on them and talking about other stuff that hasn't been brought in as evidence during this trial. At the end of the day, because of course some of these people, they just feel like he's guilty, and so let's go ahead and convict him again. But now there are some people that are looking at the evidence presented as if the case isn't, given what it needs to be given. I absolutely think that Weinstein is guilty, and I absolutely think that Diddy is too. Okay, but see, these are the things that happen when the prosecutors play these silly games. Okay, because that's exactly what this is. I have told you all from day one how, in my opinion, the prosecution has been making a bunch of fumbles, doing a bunch of things that to me seem unethical, and that I told you would eventually come back to bite them in the ass. Even if Diddy's found guilty, that still doesn't mean he's going to stay in prison. Okay? At the end, and also he could end up with a hung jury for all we know, because are the jurors really even convinced of his guilt? I mean, he's charged with a RICO conspiracy. Okay, so who are the conspirators, right? Now, we know that some people have come and testified that they were doing illegal things for Diddy, but has that been enough to convince the people sitting on the jury? Has that been enough to convince all 12 of them that, in fact, Diddy was running a criminal enterprise and that he has violated at least 2 of the predicate acts, the predicate crimes, in a 10-year time frame? Some of these people, I'm just wondering, are they convinced? Because a lot of people online don't seem to be convinced, and the jurors, remember, are just regular people, just like the rest of us. Okay, so now with Weinstein, they go on to say that Judge Farber said that he would give jurors a new instruction, telling them that their deliberations relate only to the 3 crimes. Now, that's the only thing that can be used for in their deliberations. Only the evidence introduced at this trial. Okay, they can't be going back talking about what happened in the last trial. But see, that's what some of them are doing, because they're trying to convince the other people to go with what they think. And so now they're at they've come to a bump in the road. Now they're actually fighting amongst themselves, and that's not going to get them anywhere. Everybody has to be on the same accord. And I'm just worried, concerned that this is going to be the same case with Diddy. Now, Weinstein was convicted of S crimes in New York in 2020. The case was overturned last year when an appeals court found the 73-year-old did not receive a fair trial because a judge allowed testimony from women who made allegations against him beyond the charges at hand. That's the same thing that happened here. Okay, that's the same thing that happened here. At the end of the day, Don Richard filed a civil suit against Diddy for something that is not involved in the criminal case, okay? And then Brianna Bongon talking about that whole balcony incident. Well, they made her look like a liar, whether she actually is one or not. Now, the judge did say yesterday that possibly the amount of illegal substances that she did back then may have just messed up her memory so she can remember everything accurately. Well, I told you all the same thing days ago. I told you all the same thing last week before the judge even said it. But that's not the bottom line. That's not the point. The point is whether or not the illegal substances hindered her memory, her ability to recall times and dates specifically. She said that it happened on September the 26th. And the prosecution knew that there was proof to debunk that, okay, that the defense had given to them during discovery. So whatever she did to mess up her memory, she, in my opinion, as I told you, should never have set a specific date. She said that it happened on the same day those pictures were taken. She should not have said that. She should have said it happened on or about. Okay, so that was a big mistake on the prosecution's behalf to let her get up there and testify. I really don't even see her testimony even help the prosecution's case in the first place. Okay, that's what I don't see. Now, also, they say the drama comes after one juror told the judge last week that others have been speaking badly outside the courthouse about a fellow juror and that they had shunned the person. So that's another thing you have to worry about, the discord of it all. If there are people who want to say the person's guilty, or maybe they want to say the person's innocent, and then there's this lone wolf over here on their side, and they feel the opposite, have a contrary view or opinion, now everybody wants to team up and gang up on them. Okay? So this is all just getting real messy. This is given that it's going to be just like Harvey Weinstein's case that's going on right now, where they can't even come to a decision. James says, Shalom, Queen, looking beautiful on this Wednesday morning. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. And thanks for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, they say it's playground stuff. Okay, the young man asked to be dismissed because he did not think deliberations were fair and just, but the judge kept him on the jury regardless. So they say the jury also sent a note Monday morning asking Judge Farber to reread the concept of reasonable doubt and rules of deliberation, especially in terms of avoiding a hung jury. So they're asking the judge to further explain the instructions. And you know, that's going to be pivotal in this trial with Diddy. I told you it is imperative that the jury is informed of exactly what it takes to determine a RICO. They need to be instructed on all of the elements and told exactly what they should be looking for. Did the evidence point to these different things that absolutely prove a RICO has been committed? Okay, because Diddy's charged with RICO and S trafficking under the Mann Act or whatever. So with that all being said, what do you guys think? Okay, because I don't think people are convinced. Okay, I don't think that no matter how much you explain it, no matter how much you break it down, I just think some people are absolutely not convinced. And if so many people seem to be unconvinced, you don't think some of those jurors, at least one of them, may not be convinced? And then, like I said, even if the conviction is given, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be an overturning of the conviction during the appeals process because of all this BS that's going on. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff going on that I'm not even going to get into right now. But at the end of the day, I've told you all so many different things, okay, about what I have seen and what we have, you know, what has been reported even before I got down here to the courthouse. So typically in New York, if a jury in a criminal trial is not able to reach a unanimous verdict, as is required to convict or acquit the defendant, the judge may give them an Allen charge. Okay, that's an instruction to go back to deliberations to try once again to reach a verdict. Now, eventually a hung jury can result in a mistrial. And that's what it's looking like they're going to give Harvey Weinstein. It's looking like it's going to be a mistrial or something if they don't get it together. So the jurors left at the end of Monday without a verdict, but sent a note saying they were making progress and requesting to revisit some evidence and be given coffee in the morning for energy. These people are tired, they're worn out, okay? They want to go home. They want this shenanigan to be over with. And so do I. I'm ready for Diddy's trial to be over too. Diddy needs to be found guilty, okay, and sent straight to prison where he should have been a long time ago, specifically about 25 to 28 years ago, okay, in my opinion. But let me continue. So the trial centered on three women, a former television production assistant, an aspiring actress and model, who accused Weinstein of using his power in Hollywood to sexually abuse them. Now, in total, Weinstein has been accused of sexual misconduct, assault, and rape by more than 100 women. While not all reports resulted in criminal charges, a separate crimes conviction for Weinstein in California means he is likely to spend the rest of his life in prison, as he should. Him and Diddy, in fact, should probably sit in the same cell. Okay? Now, I know some of y'all don't want to hear that, but I'm sorry, the truth is light. Walk into it. Like Diddy said, stay in the light. Carol Ann, stay in the light. Isn't that what he told that lady after he went upside her damn head? Do y'all know something else? I forgot to tell you all this part yesterday. Not only did he go upside that woman's head, okay, kick in doors, okay, and whip her up and all of that, bruise her eye, but then he still expected her to do a hotel night after. Told her, girl, go put some makeup on your face, cover up those bruises, because we got an entertainer coming over here. It's going down. Yeah, that's what he said. Now, of course, I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly what she says, okay? Still wanted her to perform after all of that. And who wouldn't be mad as hell? All right? That's right. Melanated Imran said, get the baby oil out. Okay? I'm sure he has it with him. Now, with that all being said, the only difference between Diddy and Weinstein, in fact, is the baby oil. Okay? Please pay attention. So, anyway, the decision by his accusers to come forward and his subsequent conviction in New York galvanized the hashtag #MeToo movement against the S abuse by the powerful men. Okay, and by powerful men in general. All right, Diddy included. So anyway, listen, I don't know how this is all going to turn out, but I don't think it's going to turn out good. Like I said, I really think that Diddy has a good chance of walking because they're just not given what they should be given. I don't see how Breonna's testimony really helped the prosecution. And I think it was detrimental, specifically when Nicole Westmoreland got up there and said that, you know, they had the receipts that Diddy was at Trump's tower from September the 24th through September the 29th. The incident, she claims, happened on the morning of September the 26th. And then they provided receipts to prove that he, in fact, ordered breakfast at 9:47 a.m. on the 26th of September of 2016 at the Trump Tower. So what do you all think? Let me know. Leave your comments. Okay, let me know whether you agree with me or you don't. You know I welcome contrary views and opinions. Okay? She says, Queen, Nicole says, Queen, you look like an attorney. Well, thank you, beloved. I really appreciate you. I'm just a serial killer expert, but let me continue. Okay? And by the way, thank you all who have sent cash apps and super chats. I really appreciate you because it is really expensive up here in New York. So I appreciate you all. I'm staying here until the bitter end, so this thing is over. I want to see the bar slam behind Diddy. Okay, I feel sorry for his kids, but at the end of the day, he knew what he was doing when he was doing it, and he wasn't thinking about his children then. Sadly, he was only thinking about himself. Diddy had a private jet. Maybe he flew there and back. I mean, who knows? Diddy has done a lot of nefarious things, in my opinion. You know, and at the end of the day, they've already got him on the Mann Act, okay? Because that's just, you know, transportation to engage in prostitution, okay? And we already know that he was flying those S workers out, according to the witnesses, okay? Now, as I said, a lot of people are saying, you know, online that this is just about domestic violence and, you know, people being freaky and all that stuff. I'm sorry, it's about a whole lot more than that. I see how some people want to skip over the fact that there was coercion involved. I see how some people want to ignore the fact that there was extortion, that he did, in fact, tell Cassie's mother to give him that $20,000. Now, somebody tried to debate me on that days ago and said, well, you know, Cassie's the one who sent the email. It doesn't matter who sent the email. Diddy was the one who wanted that money. Otherwise, how did they get Diddy's account to have the money transferred there? And how did Diddy send it back? Okay, and even though he sent it back, isn't that still extortion? Didn't he pay the guy at the hotel $100,000 for them to split? Okay, $50,000 for his boss, $30,000 for him, and $20,000 for another officer. I'm sorry, that's bribery. These are all predicate crimes. And I also told you that when David James got up there and George Kaplan, his former assistants, and they spoke about how, in fact, Diddy had them going out picking up illegal substances, selling illegal substances. One of them said they bought an 8-ball for Nelly. Didn't they call his name? Well, I'm sorry, they also said that he was taking business expenses and funding personal trips. Now, that's commingling of funds. So why are people saying that there's no RICO? Diddy was acting like a whole crime mob boss, and so he should be treated like one. Okay? Sorry, not sorry. Did anyone yet get into trouble for mentioning online Jane Doe's identity? I don't know. I don't know who mentioned that lady's identity. All I know is her name is Jane Doe, beloved. If they said it, they should have gotten in trouble. Okay, because you put witnesses in danger when you do stuff like that. And some people will do and say anything for clicks and views. So I don't know. But I hope that they did. That's right, Marie. Exactly. Okay, out here doing all this stuff. So anyway, listen. Court's going to start at 1 o'clock. I'll be back out here whenever we get a break, if we get a break, because since it's only going to be like 4 hours, they may actually have like a 15-minute break, and I'll run out here and give you guys an update. And then, of course, I'll go live right after. I'll do my whole live right here, and I may go live later on tonight when I get home. I really want to have Gavin on the show, Gavin Richard Esquire, because I spoke to him yesterday, and he had a whole lot to say. Okay? He had a whole lot to say. And maybe we can get Mr. I can never remember how to pronounce his name. The guy that he knows that was Michael Jackson's attorney, maybe he can get him to come on and say a few words. Numer said, you're good at what you do. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. So listen, I love you all to life. I am still rattled from the BS that happened this morning with that guy attacking me and Secret Service Sam. That was just all so crazy. We were up here just minding our own business. Okay, waiting for court to start. Okay, and all of that stuff just broke out. It was really crazy. Do you know he didn't even get arrested? He didn't get arrested. The police did stay here to make sure he didn't come back. And we had to file a police report. So anyway, we have to call down to the 5th precinct in a couple of days to try to get the case number. This is all just a whole bunch of theatrics and dramatics going on down here. Y'all just pray for the queen to be safe so I can keep on bringing you all the updates and the latest. Okay, thank you, beloved. Okay, so listen, I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.